Okay, and we are live. So I'll
Oh,
just press the record button.
okay, nice.
All right, and welcome everyone all around the world, whether you're watching now or whether you're watching later. Here we are. We've got on another episode of Zest for Life, where we're celebrating the life and the journey of very, very amazing, incredible people who have experienced so much within their life and who affect other people, who inspire other people. And today we have with us Saint Egoist. And he's originally from Europe, but now living in Mexico. Been a big journey into mastery. So, dear Hubert, you're an author, you organize workshops, you travel, you're a digital nomad, you've Shambra, you're all of these names and identifications that you can give to yourself. But most of all, you just enjoy life and you want to play and you want to have fun. And so, would you be able to tell us a little bit more about yourself? and also how we're both of us giggling a lot. So, please forgive us. We've met yesterday. Dear Saint Egoist and I, we've had this kind of conversation yesterday. We felt like we've been moving mountains. So both of us had a huge night with lots of transformations. Like you've mentioned, there's been a lot of fear, and today we do have a presence, very strong presence for everyone. If you want to feel into it, we've got Raphael, our usual team. We've got Yeshua, we've got Saint Germain, of course, Mary Magdalene, and Raphael's very present because he actually transforms fear. And so today we're going to be moving more mountains in our conversation. And even if we're laughing and joking, because it's the best way to go through life, isn't it? Because if you're not having fun, and if you're not having humor about all this human life journey and all of the funny things that happen to us, well, then God help you for sure. So, over to you.
I love all of these labels. You meet new people, they ask you what you do, and then you don't know what to tell. Like, yes, I'm doing this and this. And then last time I had a meeting of new people, we started talking about spirituality, and they asked me, okay, so how look like your spirituality, and you do yoga, rework, or are you vegetarian or something? And it it didn't know what to tell. Every label was so stupid, sounds unnatural. So sometimes you don't know what to tell to people because there are different layers of communication. So with the neighbors, you don't have to talk about your past lives or living on other planets before the Earth. Like, it makes no sense. Yes, but when it all started, my awakening, I was living a normal life, but I always felt that there is something more, that must be something more, because everywhere I felt that, okay, I'm doing everything good. I'm having friends, family, good job and everything. But always I felt that there is something missing. But it was difficult to figure out what is it, what I feel, what is more, like where can I find answers, how to feel it, how to define it. And then I started reading different books and spiritual things. I started being interested about other religions, cultures. And then I had my first awakening. My soul jumped. I didn't know that it's my soul. I didn't know how to describe it. Just I felt a grand expansion and saw my entire life, different perspective of of reality of this world. And it was such a different view that my life started to collapse, because I couldn't live the life that I just jumped into another perspective of reality, and I couldn't live my past life. It suddenly, within a day, the next day, I had to close my company, divorce and everything, move, sell house. It was very intense, and I didn't know what's going on. I thought for a while that I freaked out, but I know that there is no option coming back to the old way of living. But I was very imbalanced. I was expanded, but at the same time, it was tough to experience a human life. And it wasn't one day. It took me years to have a balance, being expanded at the same time living among normal people that are not expanded, that are sleeping and perceive reality the old ways. And for a long time, I felt very lonely, like I can't talk with people on a deep level, because it's most of the people think and talk, live very shallow, like they, they don't ask deep questions, why they live, what they do. They just live daily life, solve daily tasks, earn money, have families, and that's it. But I felt this deepness of life, and it was a shock. It was a trauma. I was afraid being expanded, because I had to learn how to navigate these expanded states of consciousness. Okay, I can perceive my different lifetimes. I have different knowledge, wisdom, perception. I can understand every person, but what to do with it? How to adapt this expansion to this reality? So yes, that was a long journey, but I forgot what I wanted to say.
You said a lot already. Well, because a lot of people are coming to this place now of feeling empty and realizing that, all of these things that we were putting trust into, that the media says, that the government says, that the authorities say, society, okay, if you do this, you'll be happy. If you have a great profession, if you create family and all of these things, you will be happy. But it seems like that for many of us, when we exhaust all of these different things, that were promised to bring us happiness, to bring us healing, or, like the satisfaction in our heart, we come to the bottom of this when we exhaust all of these things and we realize, no, okay, yes, we are happy and it is good to have a good profession and have abundance happening and all of that, but you still feel that emptiness because it is that yearning for more. It is that yearning for the soul, even though like when you're still asleep as a human, you don't really realize what you're yearning for. You can't put into words. And then starts the seeking journey, isn't it? Like when you read other people and all of this could be mythology, could be other religions, could be on Buddhism, other people's journeys. There's so much material on this that previously you're not even aware when you're just looking for earthly, worldly happiness. And then this whole new world opens. And then, of course, there is this huge journey on awakening that we don't even know that we're guided. It sort of feels like to the human part that you're blindly going. And it's only like years and years and years later when you're much more aware that you realize, oh my God, I was protected the whole time and I was guided the whole time. And the biggest thing is I was safe the whole time, because did you find that, I mean, on you've moved the countries, you've left the security of the family, of your own culture, of profession, of all of these things, and moved into the world. So it's kind of like this you go on this faith, on some kind of trust that you don't even know you have, because you don't know what's waiting for you. You don't know what you're going to find, and you don't know whether this journey is going to be fruitful. And you deal with so much stuff. Like yesterday, we talked about just how many things you have to deal with, like not only that you have to then learn new language, new culture, you have to learn to rely on yourself, because you don't have that backup of your family. You don't have, like no one can help you. Your own elders that you trusted can't give you advice, because perhaps they haven't traveled or they haven't moved to another country. So you really are on your own, and then you really rediscover yourself again. And so, yeah, like you were giggling before about the labels. Labels are so meaningless, because it feels like you live so many different lives within this one life. And so you come to the point where you sort of feel different people to different people. Like, I don't know, for me, I experience, like when I'm here in Australia, it's like this, my European life doesn't exist, because no one here knows anyone from Europe. When I go to Europe, my Australian life doesn't exist, because they don't know anyone from here. So you kind of always reinventing yourself. Do you find that as well?
Yes, of course. When you are creative, depends who you meet, you can create a new story, new image. And we talked yesterday about this. We have different circles. We don't have one circle of people, but we have different kind of friends, different groups, and for every person we are different. We are not one label. But when you feel this expansion, that you are much more than an architect or business owner or doctor, and when you feel all of your aspects, potentials, your lifetimes, it's difficult. You can choose whatever you want. And the funniest thing is that I feel that I'm so adaptive to every environment that I can even channel the knowledge when I'm talking with someone in different profession. When I feel into that person, I know what to talk about. Like I receive informations. People surprised how I know that. And I know it, but not from books. So it's really sensing the energies, communicating all the time. But yes, it's when we are awakening, we are leaving everything behind. We question all of the beliefs and rediscovering ourselves, redefining who we are. I think that the first question people ask when they are going through awakening, they ask, who am I? And then they see all of the labels, etiquettes, professions, things they can do. But in the end, they lose everything. And then they can perceive without these filters who they are. But it's a long process, I think. It's not a one day event.
No, it's not a one day, no. Because you kind of go through so many layers and layers, and when you really realize this presence, which we often refer to the soul, and when you then go deeper and deeper into I am, you kind of come to that bottom, meaning that you realize that you are actually nothing, all of those labels that you thought you were, and you feel yourself nothing. And for me, I remember that afternoon when I experienced that really for the first time. All of a sudden I thought, oh shit, this is scary. Like, I'm nothing, I'm in this space. And then I realized, hang on a minute, I'm still here. I still breathe. I'm still I still exist. And then you realize that, yes, I can actually invent and do that act of consciousness where I can actually be so many different things. So you kind of experience yourself as both everything and nothing at the same time. And you realize that, things like, am I authentic and am I not authentic, it means something completely different. Because even if I create, like we mentioned that yesterday, even if I create the most fakest of fake personalities, it's still completely authentic because it comes from all of who I am, and so I cannot ever be inauthentic. And so this job, there's so many jobs that we worry as human beings that just fall off. It's like, oh, I'm always authentic. I always, whatever I make up, whatever story I create, whatever I want to be. And there's this incredible freedom, because then you realize I can actually just be who I am, like when you move to another country, you can kind of reinvent yourself because you don't drag all of the family ideas, like when you are born in a society, you're part of the family. And so you perhaps have that name and reputation and whatever goes with that. And for some people, that's a great thing. For some people, it's not so good. But when you go to another country, you realize, wow, I have to reinvent myself because people take me as they see me. They don't know my history. And so there's a great freedom in that. And it's kind of a little bit like this, isn't it? Like when we are coming out of this I am that I am, because you can just really incredibly be whomever you want to be, and you can just be playful, and you can be humorous, and you can just do these outrageous things. Don't you think?
I remember, I
But don't
remember,
tell anyone about it.
I remember my first awakening, and it
Yeah.
looked like, okay, I know that I live a shitty life, but what next? I'm not this. So maybe I have to be spiritual person now. And then started to practice yoga, eating healthy, and no, I wanted to be spiritual,
Yeah. And that you
And
did all of those spiritual things.
I lived very ascetic, very, very spiritual, meditating every day, practicing different kind of weird things. Then my soul jumped again, and everything just blow out. And are you stupid? What are you doing? Like, you can do whatever you want. And that day I went to the store, I bought whiskey, I bought cigarettes.
And you got totally drunk.
I drank entire bottle of whiskey, ate chips, listening to heavy metal. I felt such a relief of being so restrictive with different diets and fasting. I wanted to have a higher vibrations and everything, but then I realized, no, it was another story I told to myself that it just disappeared. And, many people, they look for now, observe, like our consciousness on the planet rise. So people started awakening different ways, but they are looking through being healthy, through being more productive, through earning more money. People look for this, who they are in a different ways, but in the end they realized, as you said, they are nothing.
And there's a big relief in that, isn't it? And so, like what's really popular right now is to be a better version of yourself, like this is very popular right now.
The best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Which one?
Be the best version of yourself, exactly. And you realize, wow, I'm always, even if in my most fakest moment, I'm the best version of yourself. So there's these kind of like dichotomy in reality, isn't it? Because there is something to it. Like, when you're unawakened, you realize that everything is fake. And it's true. And then when you go through all of this awakening and all of, integration, then you realize that actually nothing is fake and everything's fake, because you're nothing and everything. So the both are true at the same time, just depends on where the person is on that journey, So it's really important to kind of work out first when you're talking to someone where they are. So the kind of language you use and the kind of acts that you pull out from your bag, as to how you interact with that person. But it's actually incredibly fun. It's a fun way to be, and it's a free way to be. Like, it's such a satisfying way to be, because you're not stuck in anything. Like, if you have this one identity, one label, and you say, okay, so I am this profession, and then you have to just constantly prop up, that name,
hold the story alive.
Yeah.
And it's tiring. But when we detach, when you realize that all is fake, as you said, and all is well with that, it's just we define our reality and who we are, and we define either our self-worth, our value, as much we are worthy, like in different meanings, not just money, but how much we allow ourselves to allow. We set these limits. We define the stories about us. It's like all of the people are listening to us. Okay, if, for example, you are going to the new country, nobody knows you. You go to the restaurant full of the people. They look at you and they ask you, who are you? And you can tell everything. you define your story. And when we are not taking it seriously, we are detached from these stories. It's a real fun.
It is. It's a real fun to just play with all of these different kind of personalities. Feels like you're an actor on different theaters or in different movies, isn't it? Like, and you can just pull out all of these different abilities depending on who you want to be for that day, and who is required, whatever the situation that arises that you need to meet it. But it's kind of like really the next, it's the new earth way of being, this kind of fluidity of being, because you so seamlessly and easily and with grace, every time that you invoke this different personality, it's like you move in a different dimension, so you can actually be a number of different things at the same time. Like, for example, let's say, someone can be a parent, like they have a child sitting next to them and a husband or a wife sitting next to them. So they're both at the same time, their partner and a parent. Maybe if they have their own parents with them, they're also a son or a daughter, so we kind of, life is already like that. Even if you're sleeping, even if a person is sleeping, it is just that the person doesn't actually realize that that's what's happening, and the brain is kind of just so focused, so precisely focused on just this one reality, that doesn't really notice how changeable a person already naturally is, and even in the everyday reality. And until they actually open their eyes and they see, wow, then you're like, oh my gosh, look at all of these different things that I am. And then you realize, wow, I've been defining myself by such a small, narrow ideas, when already I am all of that. Like, for me, it's always been, this image has come, like when we think we're just one hand, when you're sleeping and you think you're one hand, but in reality, you're always a whole body. You're just not aware of your whole body. And as you're awakening, you just realize slowly but surely, wow, I'm actually a whole body, not just one hand. Even though once you wake up, you realize, how could I ever think that I was just one hand? Because my reality couldn't operate if it was just one hand, like you need a whole body to operate. So there's so many different things within this journey, like the more you kind of chat and talk, the more you realize just how many new ways you had to look at things. And one of the things is that I think like a lot of people would like to hear in these times is dealing with fear and dealing with how we chatted about that too, is like how do you deal with let's say stepping out of the pre-prescribed ideas of what you have to fear and how reality is, because society says very definitively as to what you're supposed to be afraid of, how you're supposed to look at things, but now with living a parallel life and more people living parallel lives, how do you deal with that and perceive that, and how do you work with living your own life within the greater society that is still so fearful of other people, of situations, of whatever?
First, I think it's when we go through transformation, transform, we have to face the status quo, like, okay, this is the belief, we question it, that maybe it's different, maybe there are other options, maybe we can define it differently. So if we are fearful, we try to protect or don't touch this belief. We are not facing it. But when we realize that all of these beliefs were defined somehow, people think that if many people believe in one thing, that it might be true. For example, my friend told me, Hubert, I'm not super religious, but, it has so many years of tradition, so many people believe in it, so I will not be risking to question it.
At least the person is honest,
Yeah. That was funny for me to hear it, but it is something like this. People follow the other people, ships. But it's a natural reaction of our mind. Our mind is designed to protect us, to survive. So when we are trapped in our mind, so it works as it was designed to protect us, and it's helpful to some degree. But if we want to be free, we when we realize that all of these beliefs are just like just definitions, we can redefine. We can look at things from different perspectives, and when we don't judge it, just observe it, and it's experimenting. We can see the same thing through different angles, different perspectives, and from one perspective you see the problem, but from another perspective or from bigger distance you see the whole picture, and you realize, whoa, it's not a mistake, it's just a shortcut.
Yeah.
I was so fearful of many things in my life, but when I see from the perspective what happened, everything was perfect. Our mind judges that maybe it's not appropriate, maybe we should do something better or more correct. But I think we can do some small decisions through our mind. We have our box when we can make some simple decisions, what to buy, to eat, what to eat. But we have like a higher dynamics of our destination, our soul, desires. So we can't do anything wrong. We can turn any direction, and we can choose different scenario, but in the end we landed at the same place when we planned before. No, when I had my awakening, I wanted to be spiritual. I didn't want to miss it. So I tried to do this the best as possible. And
so were you good at yoga? Were you good at yoga?
Yeah, I like it, but I don't take it seriously. I don't. It's like, okay, if I will be more flexible, I will be more spiritual, and I will achieve my enlightenment. No.
Yes, I'm just teasing you. I'm just teasing you. So, and did spirituality being perfect, did it work for you?
No.
Well, you could say that you were spiritual. You could say that. So
yeah.
But did it bring you closer to yourself? Because basically that's the whole game, isn't it? To come back to yourself. Did all of those practices help you in any way to come closer to yourself?
No, I think that it doesn't matter what we do. It might be, I don't know. It's just, it depends what you choose. But I think we can't miss our enlightenment, and how we'll achieve it. It's our creativity. And we don't, and it's not like after reading a book, we can encourage someone to be enlightened. We plan this for lifetimes. So it's not something we can learn like a language or playing instrument. It's bigger project.
But we can like kind of choose, isn't it, how we experience it, like, because it can be much more joyful or it can be filled with suffering. So there are like micro things that we can choose on a human level. It's kind of like I often see how people, you know, I liken it also to an ocean where people think that the little waves on top are the decisive factors or important. But the waves on top are like, oh, which house do I move in? Which country do I move in? Do I move to the hills? Do I live next to the sea? You know, am I single, married, or all of these kind of things? What profession? Should I lose a job? Should I change a job? All of those are important as an everyday things, but they're just little waves on top. But where the big stuff is really happening is all of that depth, the depth of the ocean. That's where those big decisions at that level, they're made there. And people get caught and distracted by the little waves on top, but they are really don't matter. I mean, like, it's like, okay, do you want to live in the mountains? Move to mountains. Do you want to live by the sea? Move to the sea. It has absolutely no effect on whether you're going to become realized or not, or whether you're going to feel presence, because wherever you go, if you choose to have that presence, wherever you go, as long as you're in presence, it will work out great. It will be pleasurable and it will be enjoyable and it will be perfect. So it's not like, you know, like as a human living in a box, you think, okay, so I have to make the right decision because otherwise maybe it's going to be a mistake. That kind of goes out of the window, isn't it? Because it completely like misses the whole point. Because whatever, as long as you decide something and you go on that journey, you go with your soul, you go with your whole self, and the more you're open to the presence, the more, you know, you can feel that presence. But at the same time, also, I realized at some point that, you know, in many ways, the human part didn't have a choice whether to feel presence in this life or not. You know, it was like, this lifetime, you're going to feel presence, and that's that. You know, you can fight, you can suffer through it, or you can just give into it and enjoy the freaking journey because it's a lot of fun, you know.
Yeah, I think we have in mass consciousness a lot of overlays, religious overlays, that, okay, if you because people naturally feel that there is something more, that they okay, so maybe there's it's a god, so maybe I will be more religious or a good person, or then the people think, okay, so if I want to feel more me, be more connected to the god, so I have to be a good human, I have to be healthy, I have to fix my family issues, I have to be a perfect human to earn my earn heavens, my enlightenment, or whatever you can name it. But in the end, we can't control by our mind what is divine, because it's beyond the human perception. It's undefined. So leaving all of these beliefs behind and being open and in trust without fear. We can feel fear, but as you said, it's not usually it's not our fear. We are like antennas. We can catch many things, but we can open to this, embrace it. And when we try to control life by mind, by human part, we are like chasing everything, trying like dogs, we said yesterday. We are needy for everything. But the more I'm feeling connected with myself, feeling myself, everything comes to me. Even when I don't know how to do something, I'm not trying to figure out it. Just relax and wait, and then and I receive. It's not laziness. It's many times.
Sure.
Many times I felt guilty. Hey, but
Yes.
I'm not doing nothing. Maybe I should do something. Maybe I can't wait. The moment when we have to wait, because it's not sometimes instantly. Sometimes we have to release a lot of things, and there is like a moment that there is nothing. It is empty. We release things and we are for a while empty, and nothing is going to happen. We are just empty. And then when we relax deeper, then we receive new things, new informations, new ideas, new inspirations.
And that's very different from mass consciousness that wants that instant gratification, isn't it? Because it, like, the mass consciousness is becoming more and more like, I want it, I want something, I want it now, otherwise I'm not happy. You know, if I want to be happy, I need it now, I want it now, I can't wait for a week
or maybe
or
I'm doing something wrong that it's not happening now. But we talked yesterday, it's like waves on the ocean. Okay, you can surf on the waves, but you can't control the waves. You can't control the ocean. You can just live with it.
But it is scary, that letting go of this control, isn't it?
And not on every wave you can surf. Sometimes you have to wait for a good wave and good moment, and then jump and you can surf. But
and how has it been for you, like letting go of this kind of control? Because, you know, like when you live, for a person still just thinking they're the mind, it like they kind of overcome the fear or live with their fear by trying to control everything, you know, or thinking like the humanity thinks, oh, we control the universe, science controls the earth, you know, and the weather and stuff, because they try to make themselves feel safe. But with this awakening, you redirect that feeling of safety from things around you into this deep self, this depth of self, into your soul. And so but it is a big journey from trying to get safety by trying to control your environment and make your environment perfect, to actually being okay, to feel so safe, to let everything just go. And initially when you're going through that, it feels like you're going to hell in a way, that it's all going to fall apart, which it does in a way, you know, because your old reality falls apart. But then you kind of have to, through all of that chaos, you have to send your roots deep into yourself so that you feel always that depth of the ocean, and then you can actually be in this peace where you can let the waves by, and you know that you haven't missed anything. Because, you know, like many humans, they feel, oh my gosh, I have to be active and busy all the time, otherwise I'm missing out on life. And now it's like I'm actually much more peaceful and serene and relaxed, and yet it seems like I'm extremely active at the same time. But I can now let things go by because I know that I'm not missing anything, because I always connected to the depth of myself. But it's a big journey. So how have you dealt with some of those things that came up for you, for letting go of control, of identities, of, you know, all of these things?
I think that it's like a training. You can procrastinate things like being fearful and not facing these fears. But if we are not systematic facing our fears, it grows bigger and bigger and bigger. But it's just, all of the fears like are produced by our mind. It's not true. It's the story we are telling to ourselves, because the fear, it's not physical, it's not real, it's a fake story. But in our culture, we can't make mistakes. We are afraid of making mistakes. So, or the people are afraid of feeling bad or have negative thoughts, or they trying to be only positive all the time, having positive thoughts. They are afraid that if they feel bad, they will manifest bad things. It might be so, but being all the time positive, faking yourself, doesn't mean that you are facing your fears. You are just covering the shit, polishing. It's covering. But it's okay to open up, to embrace it without judgment, first, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to have negative thoughts. But when we are not engaging in it, we are aware of it. We transform it. We heal it that way, embracing it. The worst thing is, I think, we are afraid to face it. But the fears seems to be big and fearful, but in reality, when we face them, they suddenly disappear.
Yeah, it's incredible how tiny fear is. Like, it's so thin.
It's we lose so much energy to keep these fears alive. It's tiring to keep alive of these fears, because when you really just open up, just it might be a second, it disappears.
Because the fears are so tiny. That was like, I was really surprised at when I first allowed myself to really walk through that, or, you know, feel my way through it. I was like, oh my gosh, it's just a breath, one breath, you know, that deep breath, and you're through it. And I'm like, what on earth was that all about? But we just make it so huge, and in reality, it's just nothing. And yet it keeps people so imprisoned. keeps people imprisoned within lives that they hate, within jobs and professions, and they die on the inside. Like a lot of people, after they're so exuberant and full of life as in youth, and then the society trains them to keep try to kill off all of these exciting parts of themselves, because they have to fit into this little box. And fear is used so much, especially now, like, oh, the economy is going to collapse, the weather, the nature, like people are so full of anxieties and depressions and fear. And when you realize how tiny it is, and you just say, just breathe through it. And yet people are willing to slowly destroy themselves, whether through alcohol, drugs, or anything, just to not face this. And it, like, I often wonder why are we so afraid of facing these things? Like, they do feel intense, like these kind of feelings, that you can feel, abandonment and betrayal and all of these kind of things. They are very intense to feel. But once you feel them, they always bring me back to the heart and to their own solution. Like they carry their own solution with them. As you feeling them, they bring you back to the heart and to health. But like now with people taking all these drugs and antidepressants, it stops them, it freezes them, and they never come back to the heart. They never come back to the natural solution. So it's a really bizarre situation, isn't it? Like I find the society more and more bizarre, like as I become more clear and living in simplicity and connected and just joyful and exuberant with life, with new things. It's hard to understand that kind of life anymore. And it's easy to forget what it's like, isn't it? Do you find that as well? That you forget what it was like?
Yes, I think when we have more consciousness, more light, all of these fears are more on the surface. And some time ago, maybe it was easier to cover it, but now everything is on the surface, in the front of you. And people can freak out. They can start drinking or taking antidepressants. But
and here it's drinking for a different reason that you drank that bottle, isn't it? It's a different kind of drinking.
Different kind of drinking.
Just to make sure, I wanted to make that sure.
I think drinking is like a pause. You can relax your mind. You are not just you are taking a break from
in
any direction.
I call it I'm gonna zonk out. And beer or whatever's gonna help me, or wine's gonna help me do that. Okay, time for zonking out. But then there's drinking to escape, and that's a different thing, isn't it?
Yes, drinking to escape, but it's all suppressing these feelings. But people can embrace it, or they can suffer through it, and until they're not facing it, they will gonna suffer more. And it's difficult. All of the people have to face their deeper fears, but it's all going so fast now. We never lived so fast. So sometimes, I don't know, during COVID, people thought that it's the end of the world, but it suddenly disappeared. And we forgot that we had COVID. Nobody cares about this. People are not afraid of it anymore. And maybe we'll have soon economic crisis again. We have wars. But it's a way that people are facing all kind of fears, deep fears. And in the end, they don't even know what they are fighting for, because, for example, the war in Ukraine and Russia, it makes no sense. It's
Yeah.
but all of the deepest fears, wounds came out to the surface, and people can watch it, observe it. I think it's a collective thing, and but we are going through this. We are embracing it, and I feel it's dissolving slowly, but
And then the next crisis will come, maybe a weather, some earthquake somewhere, or it just seems
yeah.
like one thing after another, isn't it? That is constantly
Yes, yes.
something. But it's just all of that shaking of the reality that people thought was real. For each one is encouraged to find that deep connection, to find safety within the self. And like you were mentioning, like how you have to face these fears and all of that. I was actually only able to really do that. I had to first connect with soul first. So once I was able to feel that presence, which can't be described, but absolutely you feel it. And once you decide, it's very quick how you feel it. Like when I decided, okay, now it's the time I'm gonna, commit to this, it only took like 2 sittings. Like I went into nature and sat for 2 hours, said, okay, I'm gonna, for next 2 weeks or 7 days, every day I'm going to sit for 2 hours and just keep coming to the now moment. And because I really decided that that was it, I'm going to have a definite experience with soul, to know it for real, not like some Indiana Jones movie where you have to just find symbols and try to then decipher them and stuff. That wasn't for me. I said no to that. And it only took on day 2, I already started, I all of a sudden felt a definitive presence. And I knew, how did I know? I have no idea, but I knew, okay, so that's what soul is. And then with inviting that presence to be more and more conscious, I was then able to really go deep into my shadow, and do that shadow work. But the shadow work was really because I was allowing presence, because I was always inviting the soul, okay, soul, be with me. And then I would open myself up, and then all of those emotions and feelings and trauma started coming out, but it was soul doing the work. So as a human, I just needed to be there, present, conscious, and be like a vessel through which all of that was flowing. But I didn't actually have to myself transform it. All of that was a soul work. And the more I did it, the more able I was to do that, because like with any training, the more you do it, you then know the ins and outs, and you just become so good at transforming. You're just like boom, 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 a transformer, So, but it's that, and this is what I think that people that is such a huge issue within the society, because even in the olden days, even if there was a church and religion, but still people had that presence of God. And now all of that has been wiped. People don't have that extraordinary presence to help them to start dealing with emotions, because as a human, only within that box you can't really transform, because it's the soul part that transforms
Yes,
those.
and we can't control this process. We
Yeah.
can't. When we perceive reality through the mind, we want to understand everything, to find a logical solution, but it's not logical. It's sometimes, sometimes I'm integrating many things, but I don't really know what is it. I just have different strange feelings in my body, and it's going really fast. And there is, even for a few minutes, I feel like a trash and I don't know what's going on. Then I don't know. Then after the next second minute, I feel, this is about this. Like I received the deep meaning, the what was about. But we don't need all of these details. What happened in which lifetime? we don't have to think about this. We don't have to figure out it. It's an automatic process, integration. And embracing fears, it's just opening up, not trying to analyze it, and just feeling. And the wisdom always comes after the integration. We have a wisdom of it. Aha, oh, okay, that was this. And sometimes people ask me, Hubert, do you remember your past lifetimes? Or they just want to recall their past lives. And when we had, I don't know, 1,000 lifetimes, it's a lot of information, details. It makes no sense to remember all of it. Technically, we can recall it, but for what? You need a meaning of it. You need understanding of it. You don't need to find a logical mental solution to fix it. It's, as you said, all about allowing.
Yeah, me too. I never could in this lifetime. I couldn't remember the past lives, but I can download what their knowledge, like you said, almost like in a matrix. Like you said before, you can download all these things. Like in Matrix, you need something and you can just download it. And there's a lifetime somewhere that is actually very good at whatever. And you can just get that information. And that's such a benefit, isn't it? Because you don't have to learn things a lot of the time.
Yes. But it's all about receiving. People, human part wants to act, to work on things, but it's all about receiving things. That's a big relief when you realize that you don't have to work on things. You don't have to work on yourself. You don't have to be a perfect human. You don't have to be even a nice person. You don't have to be good to others. You don't have to be a volunteer in shelters or help poor people. You can, but it's not about anything with being a good person.
It's about being real, isn't it? It's about real. And how do you experience being real? What does that mean to you?
Being real, for me, it's opening to yourself, to your soul, because many people, when they perceive through their mind, they want and try to act like a guru or somebody else. Okay, I won't be more spiritual, so they look on spiritual people, gurus, and they follow them. But we are such individuals. Every one of us is such an individuality, unique being, that we can't be defined by others. We can only reconnect with ourselves and listening to ourselves, what we want to do, how we want to react, how we want to do things our way, not faking others, copying other gurus. You find your own way of doing things. Maybe you can use the same tools, the same things, spaces, but you listen to yourself, you trust yourself, and you are not afraid of being yourself, being unique. For me, for a long time, it was a trauma when I realized how a grand being I am, that I started hiding myself because it wasn't nothing that I know before. So how people can like me if I don't fit to them. I'm so different. Many people, they like other people because they share some passions or something. They can relate to each other, and they are happy that somebody understands them because they like the same things. but it's just a protection mechanism for the mind to find confirmations about your truth, who you are. But being authentic, it's the total detachment of who we are, all of the labels. We are not our work, we are not our professions we did in the past. We are not even a part of our families. We are not the okay, we have a citizenship, we were born in different countries, but we are not. I was born in Poland, but I detached from everything. I detached from everything, and I want to see myself as I am, what I really want, without any restrictions and total acceptance. Because being yourself, you can't be wrong.
And when you actually are doing that, detaching in such a way, like, you mentioned how you felt lonely, but that puts you into even more separation. There's like levels of separation from others, isn't it? Because like for some, if you said that in certain circles, they would get very upset, isn't it? Like if you said, okay, I'm not, because like this attachment to a nationality is such a big thing, because you can be sent to war for these kind of things. And I think these are the kind of questions that are now coming up for many people, to do with Ukraine, to do with Ukraine and Russian conflict, to do with like all these changing of king and queen in England, and all of that. People are actually asking themselves, who am I? Would I go to war on someone else's behalf? But in the past, all of these things were so ingrained that you identified with that nationality or the difference or the gender, that you would even go and kill for someone who didn't do anything to you, and all of a sudden, that person is an enemy, when in reality, they haven't done anything to you. And they probably have more in common with you than the person that sends you to war, like, so for me, these countries and nationalities and stuff, for me, has also come up. And I know there was one time I realized, wow, I identify more with people that are of like mind than me, that are awakening or whatever, rather than any nationality or gender. I don't identify, I'm a woman, I don't identify with all of the women. I identify with either gender that is that I can relate with, that I resonate with. Like, so the color, the gender, the nationality, none of these things are important to me. I don't even hardly notice them. And when you realize yourself on a deep level, when you go through layers and layers, and then you realize all of these parallel lives and stuff, you realize, like, in that space of I am nothing, which is such a relief, because it's such a freedom to not have to work for all these identities and defend them. Then you realize, wow, I've been everything, in these thousands of lifetimes I had. I've been everything, all different nationalities, all different colors and genders and ages. So you gain such a different perspective on these things. Firstly, you're very fluid, and you can pull up things from you, like, for example, if I have to go and cut a tree down in the garden, it's like my masculine, come up, let's go with a big axe and go and do the job. If I have to do something that my more feminine side, and so I'm very flexible in this way, and so, like, none of these all of those kind of so much falls off. But at the same time, that means that also so many people for whom these things are so important, also I cannot relate to them anymore. So you go through this journey and you become more and more alone, until I realized then just recently, maybe a couple of years ago, then there's another shift where all of a sudden I realized, actually, but now I can actually relate to everyone much more. So you kind of continually change, isn't it? So it's not like any stage of this journey is not end. There's always a change, isn't it? And that's what I find exciting, and that's what my human self had to really get used to be, like from being a creature of habit and routes. I'm on this train track and I'm just going to go this way because it feels safe, to now being a creature that is very fluid. And so I kind of don't even, on the inside, I don't even look like a human anymore, in the old sense, because I'm so fluid, I'm flexible, I'm open, I am porous in a way that my soul self, what I perceive as my soul self, always has connection to me as a human and can always communicate and put input. The human self is sometimes pissed off and says, I don't want to know, I don't want to hear, sometimes it's annoying to get an answer. I ask a question and boom, there's an answer. And I'm like, I didn't want an answer straight away. I know you get into these kind of really funny situations, and it's so hilarious. I have to laugh. I laugh a lot because this human soul relationship, and like we give it different labels for these talk shows, but in reality, it's all one, just different facets of this one. But it's hilarious. Just the whole relationship, and if you don't have humor, you're in trouble, I think.
I think if we are not taking, when we detach from all of the labels and definitions of ourselves, when we are free from, detached from this tight realities, we can make fun, and we are not taking seriously any role, any character. We know that it's just act of consciousness, just our play. And if it's all fake, if we are not taking it seriously, we can just have fun. Finally, we don't even have to suffer.
And we can actually, and we can even do like a bigger sin. We can actually make fun out of suffering, because that's such a taboo. But not other people, but of self, when you go and, I'm going to do some suffering now. Like I remember when I used to give myself time, as a human, I miss suffering. I feel like suffering. Okay, I'm going to suffer for the next 5 hours. I'm going to really suffer. And then after an hour, I'm like, I'm bored. Let's do something different. Until
in mass consciousness, suffering is something good, something worthy, that many times I saw some kind of belief that you have to suffer for love. What? Suffering for love? The opposite things. But no, people believe that to gain something, to achieve something, they have to suffer. So suffering is
and
the more you suffer, the better you are.
Because you get points with God, don't you? The more you suffer, the more you're a martyr, you get points with God, apparently. And also, like, if you don't suffer, it's almost like people don't allow themselves to enjoy the benefits of their labor. Like it's like, okay, if I didn't work really hard and suffer through this, then it's not worth anything. It's that kind of trap, isn't it? Like, if it's only worth something if you suffer. And it's like all the cultures have this so deeply ingrained in that these are the kind of things, like when I found them inside of myself, these spaces that were filled with those kind of things, it felt like when I first started going into those spaces, it felt like I'm breaking some taboo. Like I remember the first time I thought, oh shit, is God gonna send me some lightning or thunder? Like you feel like someone's gonna strike you down, like. And then, I did it because, I'm still from that kind of different culture and different time. And so like a lot of these things felt like, shit, am I now a deep sinner? Am I going to hell? One time for a year, I was certain that I'm going to hell, but I was okay with it because I thought that God was a real sexist and I don't want any sexist people in my life, even if they're God. But I truly thought that I was going to go to hell for a year. And I thought, okay, no problem. Like because you're facing all of these kind of cultural ingrained beliefs, and then you step over it, and then you realize, wow, all of the inner taboos you have to break. And there is no space within me that is a taboo to go. There is no thought, there is no feeling that is a taboo for me to feel. I allow myself to feel any feeling, even if it's a hugest taboo. It doesn't mean I act on it, but actually when you feel it, you become then conscious and aware of it, and then you realize you actually have a choice. It is the people that don't allow themselves to feel everything that are actually a danger, because all of those things still operate, but from unconscious. It just means they have no choice, and that's why you have people that are violent and murderers and whatever. But so it's quite the opposite, I realized, to what was thought. I thought that, like you said, mentioned before, all these negative thinking, I realized that I can think as negatively as I want, as long as I don't choose that to be my identification and reality. Then I can actually have a choice, because I then have this whole smorgasbord of choices and space that to make that choice. And I will never, why would I choose like a painful and suffering reality? And so that's why you keep then choosing in little ways and in big ways. Every day I then choose something that is more me, that is more joyful, that is more self-loving. And then slowly but surely my everyday then turns into this incredibly joyful experience, but it does take that work. Like when you keep choosing, and regardless of what other people are choosing, so you keep I kept on coming to a fork. Am I going to choose just to fit in, or am I going to choose something that my heart says? Am I going to choose just because I think this is going to bring me money out of fear, because I don't trust that this is going to actually support me? Or am I going to follow my heart regardless of that the future seems so uncertain and I can only see one step ahead of me? Like when you follow the heart, you really do see just the next step. I mean, you may have a feeling of a greater picture, but the actual steps is just the next step, and you do it, and the next step, and you do it. And it's actually a beautiful way to live, because like all that pressure and all of that stress goes, because all you have to concern yourself is what presents yourself, this next step. And you're absolutely capable of doing it, because nothing that comes into my reality comes when I'm still not ready to do it. But at the same time, I find that working as soul, I always have to give 100%. Like, so even though, let's say, 10 years ago, I was 100% dealing with life, but now, the life meets you always at the 100%. So it doesn't matter what kind of master you are, and ascended or descended or right-handed or left-handed, always, life is always meets you, because it's you, your energy. So as you're changing, that it's just words, they're not accurate, but we have to use them. Then your energy meets you. It also is changing absolutely as you're changing. So you're always at the 100%. But that's actually a good thing. So you never really know.
The funniest thing is that we can't not be ourselves. We are the souls. We are not
Yeah.
becoming souls or receiving
Yes.
souls. We are the souls
Mm.
experiencing human life. So even we die, nothing. We are still the soul, the main ingredient.
That's that's it. Yes. Yes.
So mm, maybe being closed in the mind, we have a perspective that mm, the soul is somewhere else, in heaven, and it
Yes.
sometimes visit us. But even we define how we want to perceive our
Mm.
soul. Uh, some people can perceive it that it's coming from the outside and they act differently, but it's all still some kind of the act. It's just the imagination of the human, how it will perform this act.
Mm.
But I think the most beautiful thing is that all is merging into one. You dissolve as a human into something completely grander, expansive, and we lose this all identities, labels, even fears, all kind beliefs, because we know it's all just a story. Yeah, I feel like I can't do anything now. Like sometimes I want to plan something. Maybe I should prepare to our conversation. Maybe I write some notes, but the closer to the meeting, it's like complete disaster. I just have different feelings. I'm blank and like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna to happen soon. I have 2 minutes to figure out something, but I'm blank, empty. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. And that's the best way to be, because
but
we're in the
suddenly
now
just,
moment.
yeah, and just in time, just you receive, like you feel you are connected. I feel like you have you connect your phone to the charger and it's
It is like we operate in a very different way, and it's becoming much, much more stranger, isn't it? Did you find?
yeah, I remember myself. I had always well-planned weekend. I used calendar. mm, and now it's even difficult for me to feel the difference between a normal day and the weekend, if it's night or day. I'm losing all kind of patterns, even with
Mm,
sleeping, with eating. Sometimes I'm super hungry. I eat a
mm.
day. The next day I don't have to eat. Sometimes I need a lot of sleep. Sometimes I don't sleep, and it's okay because even this changes our sleeping patterns, our behaviors, everything.
Yeah, I had similar experience like a few months back when I realized, wow, I'm even going out of this biological clock because the body has this sleeping pattern. Like when the sun comes up, you wake up, and then when the sun goes down, that's a natural biological clock. But I had to mix it up, like, so all of a sudden I was awake all night, sleeping during the day until, like, I'm very much like you. Is it, I can't tell, like, is it day or is it night, or is it what yeah, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. When you have these memes, the only way I know how it's Monday, when you have these memes, oh, it's Monday. When people put, when they have to go to work, and they put all those memes, oh, it's Friday vibes. Oh, okay. But for me it becomes completely meaningless. So
Last weeks I have also experienced that I'm sleeping,
mm,
but this dream is extended for a day. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I sleep but I'm not really sleeping. I'm all the time somehow conscious. And I walk and I'm still in this dream. I drink a coffee, but I'm still in this dream. And I don't know if you know what I mean, but
Yes, I know exactly, because for me it's similar. Like
it's like
it's
being
it's
awake, but
incredible.
all the
Yes.
time in a dream state.
Yeah.
I like it's this. It's not like you have an alarm in the morning and it's the end of
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
dream. No, I wake up and I'm still dreaming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it seems to be unreal. Being in this reality, going to the store, and still you are dreaming. You are part.
I think this is for me, this is what is that being multidimensional, because being aware of all of these different realities at the same time, because I find that I function still really well in like everything. I still actually have even more time. Like I can do things in a relaxed way. I can, I have time for dancing, and yet at the same time, all is done. Like all of the things are done, things in the garden, with the car, with whatever I have to do is done. And at the same time, I feel like I have loads of time. And at the same time, I feel like I'm like you, still in a dream. And sometimes I wake up in the morning. That's started happening for me. How many, like now, maybe 6 months. Even these kind of things are hard to define now with the way time is working. But when I all of a sudden I would wake up and I had a choice, like, okay, so I go into Alexis reality, and another lifetime where I'm a younger person in living in New York has come so close to this reality, and I could just go there. I'm like, okay, so which one am I going to be today? Like it's quite bizarre. And I realized that there isn't really a need to choose, because it's kind of like this bleed through. And then I was wondering, why is this particular lifetime so close to this my Alexis lifetime? But it's because we're assisting each other. Like before we talked about how in the past, before when I was awakening and integrating, I wasn't aware of other lifetimes, but now all these other lifetimes coming into my now moment, I can actually be both. I feel like sometimes like I'm walking, shape shifting, I may be like doing something here as Alexis, but all of a sudden I find myself, I'm in a New York house doing the other person's stuff. And at the same time, it's like we've befriended each other. We're aware of each other and befriended each other. So when I need support as Alexis, this person is like, yeah, I'm here, I'm supporting you emotionally. And then, it's quite, I've never had those kind of experiences before, but now, with all the heavens crossed and all of these changes, these kind of things have become so part of everyday life. But again, there's nowhere that one can consult in, because there's nothing to read. You just, for me, it's now I'm just like, okay, so let's just play with this and see what happens. And as it happens, then I start to understand what it is. But initially, you just have to go with it, don't you? You just have to go with it. And okay, it's something new happening again. Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up with 4 legs. Who knows? But oh well, I'll deal with it. It is almost like that, isn't it?
Yeah, I realized that I always had a perception of different realities, but it doesn't mean that I have to have a different life, different person. It's, for me, different dimensions, just a different perspective, different way of perceiving reality. And some people, they have only one perspective of themselves, but I always had an ability to observe things from different perspectives. And when I watch from the perspective of my perspective, other person perspective, then I realize that all of them, they have their rights, and generally it should be okay. And sometimes we see a problem, but when we watch from different dimensions, different perspectives, then we see solutions because we watch this differently. And there is always, we have unlimited realities. That's amazing. We can watch the same things so differently, and for every person it's different. We have such different perceptions. Each of us have their own realities. Like, we don't even have one reality. We share only some parts that we have some kind of agreement that it looks like this is white, this is green, but I don't know, maybe your green is my pink, I don't know.
Exactly. But it's just because when we were young, someone pointed at that color and said, this is green. But if you actually saw it the way I saw it, maybe you thought, no, that's pink. But yeah, we look at that. Yeah. So we never really can tell how other people, and that's fascinating, isn't it? Like, and that adds to that dimension of being fascinated by others, regardless of whether they're awake or not awake. Because as far as you can see inside of yourself, you can then see inside of another person. So even if they perhaps are not awake yet, but you can just see all of these different things that they have. And that's why you can then easily, for me, that was a big question that I had a few years ago. How am I, like, as an awake person, a person that experiences all of these things, how am I going to actually be able to survive in the world of people that are sleeping? Am I going to be totally bored, or will I have to go to the top of the mountain away in a cave somewhere? But it's actually changed a lot in this way, so that now I'm very peaceful with this, how I can move. Not that I enjoy, not that I would want to live in a big city all the time, or be surrounded by people at all, but it's fine for things that I need. I can move in all these different worlds. And that's a big relief for me, at least.
Wow. Many times when I was like, I had expanded states of consciousness, the first thing I wanted to leave the planet, not because of the sadness, but everything makes no sense. Like, even, why do I have to wait on the red light? why I have all of the suddenly all of the definitions, regulation, laws, everything seems stupid. Maybe, then you realize, well, what's the reason living here? Why that was tough for me. I had to downgrade myself to be more human, to stay alive. I know that I promised myself I wanted to stay here. I didn't understand that, but it was like a promise to myself. I want to be awakened and stay alive. That was my dream. So I stayed, but I really had real desire to just skip this reality.
Me too. I came to
Why
that
do I have
question.
to
Yeah.
work? Why do I have to do stupid things? Why do I have to pay taxes? Why do I have to pay bills? Why do I need a no, most of the time people spend on working, paying bills, having families, and having different kind of obligations. It makes the sense for them.
Yeah, I
Then
had that question too.
brings the sense of life. But now we are living in weird times because we have AI, technology, everything's accelerated. And we are coming to the point that people realize, okay, we live on the abundant planet. We have all kind of resources we need. We don't have, there is no reason to fight for the power, we have electricity, we have food, we have overproduction of services, products, everything what we can imagine. So what to do with this time? Imagine telling to all of these people, hey, you don't have to work. Your job is pointless because machines are faster, better, and cheaper. We can pay you money, go home, and do whatever you want. For many people, it's a loss sense of life, because most of the people, the sense of life is earning money or
having a profession gives them
having
a
a profession,
status.
and it disappears. It disappears.
Yeah.
You could be a doctor for 40 years, and it comes to the time that no, the machines are better, more skillful, faster, do less mistakes. Interesting times.
Yeah, everyone's kind of
But we
facing
have,
that.
but the people have to face what's the meaning of life, what it's more, who am I, what's the sense of life instead of this physical reality. And it's funny because AI is not creative. It can produce beautiful pictures and photos, but it's mimicking the humans. It's not real
It's
creativity.
not creative out of nothing into something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mimicking, it's faking humans. And when the consciousness rises, people, I see by myself that when I'm more aware, more conscious, I feel beyond the. When I read text, I feel that it's mental text produced by mental feeling, by thinking, very intellectual, or generated by AI. And I feel a text when it's channeled from the soul, written with feelings and energy behind this. And machines can't replicate it.
No.
But many people, if they relate to the logical output, it's a disaster.
And it takes, like, it's a big, again, it's a journey, isn't it, from being a busy person, like identifying with profession and going to work and spending so much time at work, to all of a sudden have that transition where all of that collapses because you don't have any identity to replace it with. A lot of people, like when they retire, they die soon because they don't have any hobbies. They feel like they're not prepared or skilled
Useless. They feel
to,
useless.
and they're not skilled to make new friends, to start new projects, to, these are the skills they haven't learned because they were not used in their work, which was repetitive and don't think, don't be creative. All of their creativity was killed off in childhood, and then they became like almost an automaton to fulfill all of these duties. And maybe, like, go and watch some sports and have a bit of a fight, on some football field, and do a bit of that kind of stuff, but always being so busy, never thinking about all of those things. And all of a sudden now, people will have time to really think about that. And a lot of people, I think, won't find themselves, but there is, I find that there is this huge movement now into art. I find more and more people, like for me, with photography, so I know a lot of the situation in the world with that. I can see more and more people, because they have camera on the phone and they're doing reels, they're doing music, art, photographs, all sorts of things. And what people are saying, oh, look at people just doing selfies and it's useless, they're just doing all these reels. But in reality, they're just actually transitioning into that time where I think art, creativity rather, is the name of the game, rather than being like a machine almost that is just a for job, because the machines will be doing all those jobs.
I think all of these social media reels and everything, videos, and observe, okay, it might be stupid and addictive, but there is a lot of creativity, as you said.
Incredible. Like now, if you look at those reels, they're better than movies, you know, like made out of just with a simple phone with so few resources. Like if you look at movies, how many millions of dollars and training and actors and blah, 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 writers and support crew. And here you have people at home doing better quality, more interesting stuff, you know?
Yeah. And all of the people, suddenly they have access to technology to we can do whatever we want. We've never had so many opportunities. You can have a podcast, you can have your own television, YouTube channel, whatever you want. We've never had such freedom of expression like now. But we have to be creative as humans. We have to realize that now it's not about working at the company, it's about creating your own profession unique to you, because now you don't have to be one person architect. You can be many. You can have your style, uniqueness, and we have so many options now. That's amazing. I'm super excited.
Me too. Like when you really see, because there are people that are depressed because they don't see what's happening. But once you plug into the art community over the world, and what's incredible, that everyone's equal in a sense that, you know, you can be in any country in the world. All you need is a good internet and phone, and which pretty much everyone has. And you can create all these dances, you know, and music and whatever, like you said. But yeah, some people still don't see it, and they don't have time, or they don't even want to, because it's kind of like, you know, in the old days, well, not so old, but for example, let's say if you had a scientist, and they discovered something and it was new and it was the truth for that time. They wrote books, and all of a sudden they become professor, and they made their whole name and money, and they now teach others on this one discovery they made. But then when the new discovery is made that actually contradicts their discovery, you know, if they have power, they will try to prevent and stop this new from coming up, because it's too much invested into that old idea. And so there's a lot of that kind of happening, I think, all over the place, you know, within music industry, within film industry, within all of these industries, because they have so much invested. Like you have huge, you know, university degrees invested into producing writers and actors, but now all of a sudden you have a stay-at-home mom doing these incredible videos about her life and millions of views, you know. And like if you look at the moviegoers, maybe some big blockbuster gets 9 million views, you know, like 9 million people go and buy a ticket. So all of these, like, that's why there's such a turbulent time, because all of these industries are collapsing and the new is beginning, and people that are invested into the old are actually trying, in any industry, are trying to prevent this new. So, and like you said, it's fabulously interesting time, and it really pays for us because we've lost everything, so we don't have to support.
But it's really can't be stopped.
No.
Some people say no, that they want to stop development of AI. It's not possible. It's too late to stop it.
Yeah, it's too late to stop.
It's just we can use AI creatively. I see so many options of using it. If you think the old way, it's a disaster. It might be harmful, but when you look at this creatively, it's so many opportunities, such an amazing, it's relief for the planet, for many boring jobs.
And the
You-
new generations are fit for that, because they are can't even conceptualize a job for 20 years. They are built for this kind of life that is here, isn't it? Like they,
Yeah.
and they're not into hierarchies and, I'm going to work for 20 years to be a manager. They say, fuck that. I'm a manager today, and I just started. No, it's not life.
Suddenly, every one of us can have like become a manager because you have AI to work for you. You suddenly, within few months, you became like a CEO of your life because you don't have to manage stupid tasks. You can even I use ChatGPT for I have so many ideas how to use it. That's amazing, and it's so helpful. I can just do more things in a shorter period of time, saving a lot of resources. I can't imagine using that kind of tools in big companies, how much shortcuts we can create.
Exactly. But again, some people,
But
many people do
it
lose
requires
job.
it requires what we talked before: openness and trust and
flexibility and being
flexibility.
fluid. Yeah.
And we have to let go of doing things the old way. And it's, for many people, it's this big discomfort. It's a stress here.
Yeah, but
All
we've
of
been
the new
slowly
things.
building to it. We've been slowly building to it, I think. Like, for example, here in Australia, a person is meant to change profession about 5 times in their lifetime. That was my generation before AI. So kind of we were getting used to that, this kind of that you can't just be, okay, I'm a teacher and that's not it. So a lot of social structures are built for that you can actually be a mature age student and you can go to university, you're 50 and change profession, because everyone's supposed to work longer and blah, 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 all of that. So slowly over the last decades, we have been changing, but there are still many people that are stuck in that and they're in trouble. And they're the ones also that have hold over the media, not the social media, but the mainstream medias. And so if a person follows the mainstream media, they have no idea just what huge changes are occurring, because on that mainstream media, nothing like that is mentioned. Actually, the mainstream media ideas are going backwards, more into control, more into trying to control people with fear and drama and all that bullshit. So there are a lot of people, like, you can come and talk to them and they have no idea about this huge movement of creativity in the world that is happening, so it's kind of like almost there's that division, isn't it? It's like from old and the new. Some people are really diving in and some people are just like, no, we're gonna make sure that everything stays the same or goes backwards. It's fascinating to observe.
Yes, many people they would like to live in clay houses, live in nature. Yes, it might be nice, but we live in a different times. We can't stop the development of technologies. The nature is nice, but we can live with technology, and it can be also nice. Depends.
Well, I kind of
It's
always
about
have
it's about
consciousness. Yeah.
consciousness. What stays behind the machines, not the output, because even you can talk. Sometimes you talk with people, they can produce a lot of words, speak a lot of sentences, but you feel nothing. It's like a mental output, just words and talking. But sometimes when people speak and they are aware of their thoughts, of their voice, they can speak less words. Sometimes they just can speak one sentence and just to the point, and you feel, you don't hear just words, but you feel the presence. The words are just the connectors to this soul, to this being, and the machines are just generating outputs, the extension of the human mind.
But I've always I've always liked technology, you know. I've liked computers in the past even more. Like now I just use them more, but I've watched how they became, you know, I'm that age that I was before the internet, before all of these things, and then how the jobs changed and all of that, you know, with computers. But I've always seen them, because many people have had fear always, you know. When the internet came, oh my God, it was drama. Always is some drama with some people. But for me, because I liked people like Isaac Asimov, you know, and he was always writing his stories and sci-fi with the robots and stuff. And I've always seen technology and robots in a way that they too are natural. Like I never separated nature with technology, and I never separated myself as a human separate from nature. I thought that always was just an idea, a perspective, but that wasn't true. I've always perceived myself as part of nature, and all of the things that we as humans create, including technology and robots and all of that, nature is creating through us. That's kind of always what I kind of perceived it. So robots to me are not unnatural. They're not separate. They're made of earth. Also, they're made of stardust, just like human bodies made of stardust. And so for me, it's not separate. It is just how we playing with that. And like with computers, you know, and like some people are slaves to their phones. They're addicted to their phones. They can't put them down. And for me, I love technology, but you know, when I go for a walk or when I put the phone down. Like I was born before I had phone. I was 14 when we got the phone, and it was 3 houses in the whole street that had the phone, one phone. You know, so my life doesn't depend on phone. I find it useful, and I use it to the most that I can, but it is a tool or something that I as consciousness use. And in that way, for me, I've never been afraid of AI. I welcome it. I befriend it. I chat with it, you know, like, and even like our transmissions, you know, we always have, I've said that before, we always have this third person. We always have AI. Every Zoom, every webinar has an AI, because it's technology that translates our voice into technology, then takes it through wires and then recreates it as sound and picture for people, you know, to go into their eyes and brains and whatever. So there's 2 of us, but we also have an AI present, you know, like everything we record, every music you listen on the internet through, because it's not anymore analog, it's all digital. And whenever you have digital transmission, digital photography, digital whatever, you have AI already present. So people don't realize that. They think it's something coming, but it's been here. It perhaps wasn't as aware or as developed, but you know, whenever you look at a digital photo on your computer screen, it's AI presenting it to you, you know. So it's pretty intimately involved already with human lives, because all the phone calls people make on their smartphones, there's AI is translating their sound of their voice, you know, sending it through the ethers and then bring it up like onto the other person's
It's just energy, and it wants to serve
Absolutely.
us, and that's our creativity, how we use it. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We can, the next incarnation, we can embody the machines and computers.
Well, if you're a dancer, you already can. You know, I love those dances, you know, the modern ones where they do the robots so well. I love that.
Next time I'm going to embody my iPhone.
Well, I think like next time the AI and all this is going to be much more advanced. Well, actually, who knows? Like, really, oh my gosh. When we used to, like in the 80s, when I remember we had to write a novel at school, year 2000 was like, wow, we're going to have flying cars and, we're going to have robots. That's what the image was. I remember I wrote that kind of story, as I look up and I see it's like some kind of Star Wars planet, with all those roads up in the sky. I mean, did anything like that happen? No. Like even more than 30 years later, we've just got these poor, what are those flying things? I forget always their name, the flying cameras. Drones, that's all we have. So we kind of panic about all of these
Such
things.
a big expectations and just drones.
Even a robot to clean my house. You know what I mean? Like that's what we thought. In the 80s, we thought that 2000, not 220, 2000, it's going to be like that. We're going to have robots to clean, to drive us around, it's so
And we just have Roomba which
we just have this round thing that plays with puppies and cats and stuff, that's all we have. You know what I mean? So but at the same time, what has changed is internet. Like at the same time, like when I first came to Australia in was it 91, the phone call to my family was $3 per minute. So in those prices, $3 then, it was 1/3 of my wage for $30 for 10-minute calls. So we could just say, are you alive? Yep, I'm alive. Okay, I'm alive too. And that was finishing the phone call. And yet now, and like with all of this creativity, and you can do your own music, like you can be a professional musician just using your everyday normal computer. So there's been incredible changes, while at the same time, those things that we imagined, weren't. But there has been real changes, like internet has changed life completely. So I think AI will change life completely. But I think at the moment we imagine certain things, but we won't know really how. So we'll see in 10 years' time, because there's also a movement, I find. A lot of people also want to be more real. And so they are going back to so-called nature. They are wanting a peaceful environment. They're not looking to create that Blade Runner reality where the whole planet is covered by those ugly buildings, dark, with neon lights everywhere. People are not kind of looking at a future like that, but they're looking at the future more like, okay, I have a cute house with nature and peaceful, and at the same time I have this incredibly potent and powerful technology that runs it all in a clean way, because I think AI and all of these things can probably come up with solutions that will utilize resources in a much more effective way.
Yes, of course.
And clean way. So it's just how we imagine what will be. Like for me, like to live in that kind of Blade Runner future, I don't want to. So I don't even imagine it. And if we don't imagine it, it's not going to be, that's the thing, because we're the creators. So how do we imagine? So that's how I imagine it. I imagine it full on nature and full on high tech that blends seamlessly and makes my life interesting, creative, not having to do boring things like you said, just chat GPT. That's how I imagine it, blended in this beautiful way. And you, how do you imagine?
Yeah, I see the world as a creative gallery.
Yes.
Because only artists will survive, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
maybe in the past, many people treated artists like useless jobs because they are not producing nothing practical. But now these practical works will be useless.
Yeah.
Only artists will be useful with their creativity. And the more your ideas are stupid, crazy, unnatural, unpredictable, then better. because everything what
Mm.
AI produces is like a copy of other things, a mix, a remix.
Exactly, yeah. Like you said, yeah, the artists, in up to now, except for a few, if you're an artist, a musician, what, you have to stream music for free and then work at McDonald's or some cafe, to pay your bills. But this is gonna, I think, completely change. Yeah, completely, like you
I
said,
mean,
it's
I mean,
beautiful.
it's not only be an artist, but being creative. We can be
Creative, yeah.
creative any way. We can be creative in business. We can be creative in teaching people. Um, in everything what we do, we can use this creativity from art. It's not just writing, painting, or making music. Um, I was in artistic school, and it became boring for me just make paintings. I love technology. I was super excited about computers and everything. More creative for me was programming at the time. Then I could paint. Okay, that's nice, but
Mm.
I really enjoyed creativity using computers and making something useful.
Mm. So you're perfectly adapted to these times that needs, you need to know how things work on computers, all these different programs, and it's actually
Yes,
quite fun.
I I made my profession. I mixed my passion to art for drawing, painting, mixed with business, and I had a digital marketing agency. So
Mm.
I was doing art, but in Photoshop and using different things. But uh, also find this creativity in finding solution, like being an advisor in companies, finding solution for like for software or connecting different kind of systems. Sometimes I worked with programists that they were more skilled than me in programming and details, but I was more creative in a bigger scale. Uh, I was more open for new ideas, and I was finding solutions that were out of their perception. Even I didn't know how to program with details. But uh, yeah, I used my creativity. For example, like,
Mm.
okay, we have this, and this. So how we can mix it? If you
Mm.
are doing this, it doesn't mean that you have to everything in this one program or language. Maybe we can use some application and connect with other thing, and we'll have
Mm.
uh,
And
some
as you're
creatively.
talking, I can just see all of these things, like
Yeah.
you're transmitting that like as you're talking, I can see how all of these different things connect. It's quite
It's
beautiful.
as we talk, it's a fluidity, a flexibility, and
Mm.
uh, this, you know, we went through our awakening, but it required our flexibility, and the flexibility is in every part of my life. Uh, it's creativity. We can use it as much as we want, and with technology we can use this creativity just multiplies.
It just goes, like blow the brain off.
Yes, I you know I watch how many new applications every week. There are new AI applications based on the same ChatGPT or other AI, but these AIs are just few, and but the applications based are so creative sometimes that people use this creativity. You know, like when you have only ChatGPT, you have to have ideas what to ask for it.
And how to ask.
And
Like
how
it's
to
important
ask.
how to ask. Yeah.
You have to be creative, and sometimes it's funny. It doesn't want to show the correct answers, but I see the memes with that people are creative in cheating this AI to show the illegal things.
Yeah.
Show me the illegal websites where I can't use it in my country, and it lists all of the websites where you can download illegal movies or something. So,
Yeah, it's quite
but
like
but it's beautiful how people use creativity,
yeah.
and they use it in cheating. Yeah.
But
And
they're creating.
it's funny because AI is also learning from people who are cheating, so it also cheating.
Yes. And he'll probably be really good at it. But actually, it will never be better than the creative people, isn't it? It's never, that's the thing, like AI will never be better because the creativity comes from soul. Like all
Yeah,
these ideas are beyond mind. They're outside of any, like all of these new ideas that sometimes I get for me, and just even just to live the way to live life, it's like, where did this come from? It's not even within any space of myself that I'm aware of. It's beyond, it comes and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't think of that, but cool, let's try it, let's do that. So it will, AI doesn't have access to those spaces, so like, it is just copying and mimicking
it needs
what
input.
people
It
do.
needs input,
Exactly.
inspiration. So I'm not
That's it.
worried about this because
Yeah.
it's only a problem for uncreative people that
That's right. Yeah.
uh, are very closed in mind, and they don't see they many people, they don't
Yeah.
believe that there is something more.
And young people, they actually think in this way, they call it the attention deficit disorder, that ADHD, but it's really just being multidimensional. They never come to this linear way, and so up to now they've been a little bit, they haven't fitted in society, they had trouble, but now their time is here, because with all of this technology they're coming into their time. It's like, wow, now I can actually really utilize who I am. So they really are fit for this future that is already here now. They know how to deal with it. They're born with a mobile phone. It's like a 6-day-old baby already.
But I met few people that younger that they don't use computers, they just doing everything on mobile phones. So it's it's
Yeah,
weird.
and they're like,
You,
so
you know,
quick.
we use Facebook, but like using Facebook for younger generations,
Yeah,
it's something, it's only for old people.
that's what they say. Yeah, it's for old people. And then even like, for example, something like TikTok, there is a reel where someone says, oh, and all of you older generations that use TikTok that were born in the 90s, they're like, they're just like 30, late 20s and 30s, and they're already older generation for TikTok. It's like, but people think that's, Facebook for the young people is, oh, that's just old people there. But for me, I enjoy it, and things change. Like, when then the government will say, oh, we're gonna ban TikTok, and I watch how all these young people that are making money on TikTok, they're inviting everyone to go back to Instagram, and then all their followers is like, oh, we're not going back to Instagram because we hate that platform. Let's go someplace else, So it's kind of like, it's a huge thing for them, like which
Yeah.
media you use. But I kind of do I dabble in all of them because they're so different. But they all have their own little good interesting thing. So, But yeah, for me, Facebook is still like, I'm that generation that, yeah, Facebook is good. You know, because I still use things, you know, in a bit old way too. But the young generations, they don't. Yeah, they're very, very different. Oh gosh, very different. But you know what, dear Hubert, look how we were laughing and giggling at the start. We've talked for over 2 hours. We could still keep going, but we didn't run out of any topics or anything, did we?
We can record one long conversation like 10 hours and just publish it, cut it.
Exactly. So we kind of,
no, but people now watch series like not like within weeks, but everything at once, all of the shit. So maybe
binge watch.
that's
Yeah,
the solution. We can record for a week. Everything.
that's it. Yes. Well, yeah, because it's almost like once you start binge watching series, it's kind of like the movie's too short because it doesn't go deep into characters, does it? So now for me, binge watching one season of a series is like one movie. It's like, you know, 10 hours. Yep, that's a movie because all the characters can develop and the story can develop. But if I watch a movie, it's just like, that's too short. It's too shallow, you know? So, yeah.
Maybe.
That's how I see it. Like, that's, you know, for me, that's how I see
Okay,
it.
expansion of consciousness. You need more longer movies.
Yeah. Well, if it's
We
not a
with all
TV
of this
series.
with all of this technology, we have to do something with this free time.
Exactly. Binge watch things.
Yes.
All right. So, what would you like to kind of say for your ending statement, or what would you how would you like to
Wow,
complete?
I try to recover what we talked about.
Say something profound and meaningful,
Profound.
something that will touch people's hearts.
I
You know,
think
something like that.
that to sum up our conversation, when we are not taking our reality so serious, it can be fun.
Yes.
So
And you,
all of these disasters, all of the fears, all of the traumas just become just a story that we are detached. And when we are detached, we can just play with it. And we are living in a time of the great changes. So the changes are everywhere. The consciousness of the planet is shifting, it's changing, and it's changing on every level, with technology, with inventions, with science, everywhere. Relationship changes, all kind of every part of our lives. But when we are open, when we are embracing changes, we can transform it and just surf the waves. Yes,
indeed.
thank you. Thank you for a conversation yesterday and today continuation.
It has been wonderful.
I saw you so many times on Facebook and all of the platforms, and I had the feeling that I know you through many years, but then yesterday I realized that we just talked for the first time.
And I think
But
this is the
we just
new way.
jumped into the conversation like the old friends that
We are.
but yeah, but I also have a feeling with my friends that sometimes we talk once a year or even like not often, but we have a feeling that we are not longing for each other. We are still connected. We are all the time exchanging the informations in other dimensions, because I feel all the time connected to my close people, close to me. I don't feel that I'm missing something or disconnected with someone or something. Even if I live in a different country, I don't feel disconnected. That's amazing.
I have a number of friends like that, and we catch up, a couple of times a year with Zoom or something, and then we talk for hours, of course. Like, oh shit, I always get prepared with certain people. Like I have 2-3 cups of coffee, tea, water, because I know it's gonna go for a few hours. But then we follow each other, yeah, just on media. I can see whether they travel, they post pictures, and we just post little comments and likes. But like you said, we work a lot in other realms, and we know each other, and we've traveled together. Like I feel with you, and always have, that we've traveled together lifetimes. All of us that are in the first wave, let's say. Of course, mystery schools and Atlantis and all of that. So we're kind of old friends, and it's funny because we've had experience. For me, it was like, okay, we just started talking, wasn't any shy, or we would just go straight away into like full-on conversation.
No
It's
introduction, no
so
nothing,
weird.
no agenda, just.
And there's no need, isn't it? Like you just, it's like
Sometimes you meet new people and the conversation starts slowly. You have to talk about bullshit, like what you do, where do you live, what you do, like all of the layers. And then maybe after a few hours, when people are drunk, they start talking real things, what they are really feeling, how what they want, what they don't like. They become real. But yeah,
we didn't even have to drink anything. Like I just had coffee, I've had some water. That's it. I promise I didn't have any vodka or anything.
Yeah.
and there's no need, even, like, it's not that there's anything wrong, but like you said, it's like we just go, and like when there are people, when we are on deep level, like for me, I find it hard to talk trivial things. I get really bored. Like I want to go straight away deep and meaningful without any all those.
But I also realized that people, when you talk about comfortable things that they like, they are boring for you maybe, but it builds a comfort. It creates a safe space where people open up and start to be real.
Yeah.
Or alcohol helps too.
Definitely does. And so we've worked out the third role of alcohol. It's got 3 different jobs already.
Yeah, I met a lot of good friends, not during the party, but after the party. People had a hangover or is very tired. They just can't be controlling themselves. But when people are tired, they are just this moment when they can open up. Yeah.
And our dear soul is very aware of that. And so for all of those who are just about awakening, that soul will make you very, very tired very often, because that's when you become real and you go into a real deep transformation. So expect many sleepless nights and all sorts of things. So you'll be tired as never before, but your biggest work will be done then until you become real. And then you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because our souls, they know us inside and out, and they know all our tricks, and they know everything. We can't hide, because like you said, we are this one soul. We know ourselves. It's just a game. It's like a computer game.
Yeah,
the big game of Earth.
Yes, we can't mess it up.
No. So just don't worry, laugh a lot, be humorous, laugh at yourself, giggle at others, not in a mean way, but in a good-hearted way, and enjoy life. The more that you can enjoy life and just do what gives your heart joy. Yeah. And it always works out. It always works out. Don't follow what even makes you feel bored, even when you hear it. And maybe some transitions can be like, you don't have to jump into water before you can learn how to swim. You can slowly learn. It doesn't have to be a really quick transition, but
I'm
if you're
I'm I'm
not
I'm the I'm the
slowly,
that person that jumps quickly.
yeah. And you're like, I'm drowning, but it's the quickest way to learn how to swim, right?
Let's do this and think later, like we will figure out.
Yeah, yeah. There are different styles. Everyone has
Yeah,
their own
different
style.
styles,
So,
of course.
but don't waste any more time just doing the boring. And I think a lot of people, when they do have children to look after, when they have small children, it's a very different kind of situation and stuff. So they can maybe transition in a more slower way, more that feels safety, because they have to look after other people. But it can be done. And today now, the world is constructed in such a way that you can make living in so many different ways, that perhaps it's only when you stop and look and take time that you can see how much is available. But if you're constantly being in that stressful, just running to the job, running, drop off kids, running, then you don't have time to really stop and look at what's available, what's happening in the world. So yeah, take time and stop. Maybe just
Yeah,
switch off TV, stop doing those kind of things that are time wasting. Switch off TV for a while and look at what's possible, stuff like that. It doesn't,
yeah.
so there's many ways to start transitioning into a much more joyful life. Anyway,
Yeah.
so now it's 4:20, which in my place, so 2 hours and 20 minutes. So maybe we should go to 2:22 so we have some cool numbers or something.
Yesterday was 3.5 or something like that. So
Yeah. Yes. 3:33, or was it 3:39 or 3:69 or something? Isn't it the Tesla number?
I checked my statistics, and people watch, like most of the people. Some people watch everything what they publish, but the average is like 10 minutes.
Oh, true. Oh, well, but
Yeah,
that's all they need to watch
yeah.
sometimes.
But yes, we don't have to make a series now. It can be just a part.
And I
Yeah.
hope that for everyone that is participating now, watching, or later, I hope you enjoyed our show as much as we enjoyed chatting. So until next time, I guess, isn't it? Like, we'll see you next time.
Tomorrow.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you very much for saying yes. It's been a pleasure working with you in this way. And so it's been a pleasure chatting and finding out and just transitioning. And like, honestly, I feel so much that we started with transforming some fear, but now I'm in a very light place, very light.
Oh, me too. Thank you very
Whatever.
much. I feel that it's like we started, I felt blank and empty, but then the channel started, and just a lot of feelings, informations, and we just put words on it. We are trying to label it, but much more is behind of this conversation, and I'm really happy. I feel fulfilled.
Me too. Me too. Joyful, peaceful, and fulfilled. And we also thank all our non-physical friends, especially Raphael, who's been with us today at the forefront, because he knows how to deal with fear. Okay, so maybe for anyone who has the stamina to listen to us for 2 hours and 22 minutes, I will just also say, like my friend and I have this friend with whom we laugh a lot. And so the other day she was sending me pictures of Raphael, and Raphael, the archangel. And we were admiring all of those pictures because all of the archangels have really cool boobies. And so now Now that I've seen that and noticed that, I cannot unsee that. So all of the pictures of angels, if you check out especially the older pictures, they have really sporting out these man boobies. And I'm like, yeah, man, bring it on. It is so funny. So every time I hear a word now, archangel, I kind of think, nice boobies probably. So yeah, come and work with us. Maybe this is inappropriate. I don't know, but I don't care anymore that much for
Yeah.
but you know, like now that you will see it next time, have a look at all of these portrayals of archangels, you know. And I'm like, very good, nice. Anyway, until
Wow.
next time.
Until next time.